This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. There we are. I'm not even going to count down. I'm just going to say, here we are with another Tiffy Tuesday.
Here we fucking are, man. My friend.
Hot and spicy with Tiffany. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's been a whole week.
It's been a whole week.
It's been a whole week. I miss you.
You know, we do these episodes and we chat a little bit on social media and there's a phone call every once in a while, but I could hang out with you every day.
Every fucking day. Me
That's
too.
Comes from the heart. You're just fun. You're just fun.
It's just so sad that we live so far apart. Or it's not so far apart, but it's far enough apart where my electrical car can't get to you.
Yeah, you know, it's, I guess since I've been here in Norway for so long, I'm used to the long distances. Good Lord, when we were living up north, for me to get to the one gym of mine was out on an island. That was like an hour and 20-minute drive.
Did you have to take a ferry?
I drove that son of a gun.
You drove
There's a tunnel. There's a tunnel that goes under part of the fjord.
Right.
Then there's a bridge from the mainland over to Skjervøy.
No shit.
So that was my drive.
You know what? It always kind of makes me giggle that people who go to the gym, they first of all drive to the gym, and then when it comes to getting to the gym, depending on what kind of gym you have, they will take the escalator to get to the fucking gym. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're like wasting half your exercise time. You should bike.
I get that. That would be a great warm-up. However, when you get to a certain level, I'm thinking of in powerlifting. You know, I lift so heavy that long 20-minute warm-up
you're not
session,
a cardio
that's
guy.
Out the window.
You're not a cardio guy.
But I am. The cardio is incorporated in the workout.
Really? I thought powerlifting was just lifting heavy shit and being a badass.
Yes, thank you very much. All
Which
true.
you are.
All true.
All absolutely true.
But you can change the dynamic. You know, you can do a heavy set of squats and you can wait 5 minutes before you take your next set, or you can do a heavy set of squats and you're on the clock and you got 90 seconds rest and then you go back and you hit it again.
Nice.
There's the cardio.
I didn't know.
See what people, and this is not what we're going to talk about in this episode. By the way,
not.
This is just our warm up to the real discussion. But this is an interesting thing that I think can be it can be important for some people. I see a lot of people, especially women, who they'll go and they'll jog on a treadmill for like 45 minutes and they'll consider that a warm up before they do their strength training.
Right, that's what I used to do, actually. I was always trying to do cardio first and then lifting.
Well, you should flip it.
Really?
Because when you burn up so much of the glycogen, the sugar, to say it simple, the sugar reserves in your muscles, excuse me, in your muscles, I'm way past adolescence. When you burn up all that glycogen in your muscles, and then you're going to try to lift. Well, what fuel do your muscles have to go on?
None. Usually by the time I start doing my quote unquote powerlifting, whenever I lift the 10 kilo weights or whatever, usually by then I'm already exhausted.
Well, there you go. You've burnt up all of your energy reserves. So then when you start lifting weights and your muscles have nothing to go on, you're going to burn muscle. That's your fuel that you start burning. So if you flip it, and if you train your strength training with intensity, that means a moderate to heavy weight with short breaks. You will find that you don't really need, you can get by with doing maybe 15 minutes of sprints.
Good, because I fucking hate running.
Who doesn't? It's horrible. It's a terrible, it's torture.
I only run for beer, to be honest with you. I am a member of the Hash House Harriers. I don't know if we've spoken about this before. Yeah, we talked about this before. Yeah, so I'm a member of the Hash House Harriers, but we only run for beer. I mean, like, we run to find the beer. And if there's no beer there's no running. If there's no beer near,
there's no running.
There's no running. There's no hurry. I got no place to be. So I don't really particularly like the cardio, but I was always taught that you should do cardio first to get your muscle.
Who was your coach? I want to go shake him up a little.
Kjell André.
Kjell André. Norwegian guy, obviously.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
he obviously, but he always told me to do cardio first to get my muscles warm and all this weird shit. And then I didn't power lift, good Lord.
but strength training.
But strength training, yeah. I
Yeah.
try to get my muscles up and try to get my shoulders up.
Sorry, girlfriend, he taught you wrong.
Well, most of them
taught you
do.
wrong.
I think
Most of them do,
you pay that money and they don't give a shit.
Well, that's the thing.
He also told me that bread was good. Yeah. Yeah.
What's this guy's name again?
Kjell André. Tusen hjärtligt tack, Kjell André.
Oh boy. So let's get into what Tiffy has on her mind today.
What I have on my mind today is that, I come from Florida, right?
Yes.
And I can't say it's my alma mater, but my local school was Florida Institute of Technology. And recently, there was a fraternity house, the Chi-Fi House, which I was an honorary member of. Even though I'm a female, I was an honorary member of the Chi-Fi House, and I was kind of bonded to this fraternity. And last week, their barn burnt down. And their barn was a place that we, gathered for festivities and concerts and beer die and beer pong and all kinds of fun games and stuff.
Hold on, can you shut that door
I can
there,
totally
please?
shut that door.
And I just want to apologize to the listeners. There's nothing we can do about it. I canceled an episode last week with my good friend Babek Namadi because of the construction noise. We have some people rebuilding a house across the street, and then another 2 blocks away, they are digging a new tunnel for a new train line.
Oh, good Lord.
And it's just so loud. It's been that way for a couple of weeks.
Do they do those explosions? I hate the explosions.
Yeah, and just it's just a weird drilling. It sounds like they're right outside the door, but it's
Right.
actually 2 blocks away.
I got PTSD, right? And so in my town in Porsgrunn, they're trying to build like a new tunnel in a mountain.
Yeah.
And so every Wednesday, now I know the schedule, but they have this like weird fire raid noise,
Yeah.
the sound, and all of a sudden there's an explosion, and every time I hit the fucking deck, even though I know it's coming.
Yeah. But
I know it's
PTSD is
coming.
real.
It's
PTSD
fucking
is
real, man. I hear that it feels like it's this air horn that goes off and then boom, and I hit the deck every fucking time.
Even though
would think
I know
what it is, but it just
it's that reaction that's burned into you from the trauma. Oh,
it
boy.
is.
Hit the deck.
It is. But anyway, yeah, the Chi-Fi
Yeah, back
house.
to the Chi-Fi house.
Back to the Chi-Fi house.
No
So the,
explosions there.
we'll get to some explosions later. But I saw that the barn burnt down. Apparently, somebody said that it was an electrical problem, and it kind of it hurt my heart because that's a place
Sure.
that
Memories.
I'm an honorary member of the Chi-Fi. Even though it's a fraternity, I was a Chi-Fi mom because I always patched up the kids when they did something stupid. Because let's just be real, college kids do stupid shit.
Yeah. I remember.
Right? Yes,
remember.
I bet you too. And what college did you go to?
Ohio University.
Ohio University. Were you a member of a fraternity or?
Oh God, no.
No, so you didn't do the whole Greek thing.
It was a big turnoff to me.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. But
All respect to those who went that way, but for me, it just was not my thing. I'm not that kind of a social person.
I think the hazing thing is a little bit stupid.
I think that's what it was. That's the main thing. I'm like, why? No, I just don't want to go through that.
The hazing thing is stupid, but to be honest, in the end, you make this brother and sisterhood, depending on if you're a fraternity or sorority, but you make them for life.
That's
and
true.
it's kind of really nice that whenever you're going through college and you're getting that education to do whatever it is that you want to do, you have this brotherhood or sisterhood in a family that you've created throughout college, to where if one of your brothers gets a great job and you kind of study in that field, then they can kind of help you get into that job as well. So it does help you throughout life.
Sure.
So
and I see that in some of the friends I have. I see that brotherhood, sisterhood that they have, and it's admirable. It is.
It's admirable, and it's for life, and it's great. But that's not something that we have here in Norway that I kind of noticed. So that was the whole thing that clicked with me when I saw the barn burning down. I kind of missed my days back at the Ki-Fi house, playing beer pong, beer die, patching up wounds and stuff like that. And it started
patching up wounds,
dude. Okay, so
you got to tell me.
I tell
you can't
you
just
something.
go by that, patching up wounds, etc., etc.
That these college kids, they're in their early 20s. What did you do in your early 20s?
Yeah, but okay, well,
okay, we're skipping over that.
But no. Well,
we don't want to talk about that.
I'll tell you about my college experience. But I guess I never thought that there would be a function in a fraternity.
There is a huge
that you would have
function.
to have a.
Believe it or not only is it a huge function in the brotherhood or sisterhood with the sororities too. Let's not leave the women out too. Yeah. But there's a brotherhood and sisterhood which they love each other. They've been together 4 years. They call each other brothers. There's they even have like some kind of speech or pledge. A pledge that they give. To say that we're from now on, even though we spanked your ass in front of the school or whatever it is that they did, you're brave enough to go through that. Now you're part of our crew. And so when you leave college, if one of us gets somewhere great, we try to pull you all up to get you there to be great. And there's that admirable fraternity feeling, brotherhood, sisterhood, family feeling. Right. And I'm really missing that because I'm going to college now. You know that. And I'm in my last year. And technically the seniors, we should be running the goddamn school because I'm a senior. But in Norway, the college experience is different. There's no Greek.
You're kind of just on your own.
You're fucking on your own.
You don't have that school. I called it school loyalty. You don't have that school loyalty here in Norway.
There's no school loyalty. You don't have a partner that gets you through everything. And no, there's absolutely
no sports program that you can rally behind.
There's no mascot. Like I'm right now. I'm wearing my college sweater. You see it, right? And it says USN, but that's the University of Southeastern Norway. But there's no like go Tigers anything. That's my alma mater. But I'm not proud of it. It's just a fucking place that I went to get a piece of paper. So it's been such a different experience, and it's so sad to me in a way because there's no camaraderie to bring people up who went to college with you, and you're like, come with me. I will help you. I will make you better, or I will help you further.
I get the impression that the college experience in Norway is a lonely experience.
Extremely.
You can have a life going on outside of your schooling, but the schooling process in itself, the schooling experience in itself is quite lonely. You're just there, you're doing your thing.
You grab the books and you go to school, and literally school here in Norway is just fucking school. There's no team spirit. There's no pep rallies. There's no
I wonder if that can be a good thing, though, because it kind of forces you, or it gives you the opportunity to just focus on the school. There's no distractions.
You would think, but there's also the you just kind of get lazy because you don't care about the school. You don't care about how great the school does in the academics. You don't give a fuck. You're just here to get a piece of paper. And so it's kind of boring. And I will tell you this, it actually extends to the high schools here in Norway.
Oh gosh, I know.
It does.
Yes.
Well, you don't know like I know. I know because when I first moved here to Norway, I was like 27, 28 years old, and I knew that I was coming here to go to college. So that was a whole goal. And then, so I checked out my prerequisites and what I needed to do to go to school here. And they're like, well, you're missing Norwegian history and you're missing Norwegian social studies. So you have to go back to high school. I had to go back to high school at 28 years old. This is like 21 Jump Street, dude.
And that's quite normal. And that's quite normal for Americans and other immigrants who come to Norway. You don't have you haven't fulfilled the Norwegian requirements.
Right.
So you have to go back to high school.
I went to high school as a 28-year-old grown-ass woman. I went to Porsgrunn videregående school, which is Porsgrunn High School. And I remember it was probably the most bizarre fucking experience in my life. It was so bizarre because, first of all, I don't know if your listeners know about Rus.
No, they don't know about that.
Okay. Rus, R-U-S-S, if you guys are interested in looking it up, like Russ. It's the high school seniors in Norway, and they dress up in these ridiculous jumpsuits and with a hat and stuff, and their graduation ceremonies, I guess it wouldn't be ceremonies, but what would it, traditions?
Traditions,
Yeah, the graduation traditions are to do a bunch of just stupid shit while you're drunk. But most of them are not old enough to buy the alcohol. So, of course, me being the 28-year-old in class, I was super popular.
Did you get on a Rus bus?
I did
take these buses, old buses, and they trick them out with the painting it and the big sound system.
Yeah. So at the time when I went to the high school, I was with a Norwegian man who he absolutely fucking insisted that I join the Rus because that way I can have the complete experience. The whole shebang. But I was 28, not 17. So I'm in this class with all these fucking teenagers who love me because I'm old enough to buy the alcohol. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm sure also because they were very curious. I'm sure you're this older American woman.
Yeah.
Back in high school again.
Yeah.
You were something of a showpiece, I would imagine.
I was something of a and to be honest, there was this, and I feel icky saying it, but there was this one boy in class who had the biggest crush on me. He had a big crush on me. He's 10 years younger. It was probably fucking illegal, but he did every trick in the book to try to get my attention. And so high school experience for me here in Norway as a 28-year-old woman was pretty fucking gross.
That is pretty wild to imagine being in that situation.
It was gross because what are you gonna do? You know, like I'm like, well, you want me to call your mom and come pick you up, or like, what's the deal? So yeah, no,
I should. I just started taking a class. We just started last week a class back at the University of Akron School of Law.
Good for you.
And I just got done talking with you. I think it was last week talking about education and how I'm done. But here I am. I'm taking a law class, for God's sake.
It's never too late.
And you know what I thought? I thought, what if, because now next year my daughter, she starts high school. To go on that. I said, what if I got bitten by this education bug and I wanted to go back and do some college stuff here? And what if they told me that I didn't have the requirements and I had to go back to Norwegian high school? And I went, and then I have to go to school. Oh, well, no, it's not me having to. It's my daughter having to go to school with me.
With Dad.
How about that? How about that?
That
poor child.
That poor child.
And me being the fool that I am, the dummy, the idiot that I am, I would have to embarrass her. I would have to find ways to. I have to.
Come in a chicken suit, something, whatever.
Yeah.
But that was the bizarre thing.
But did you feel any kind of loyalty though? Because that whole Rus movement thing, I mean, they're a tight knit group. They're out there to raise a little hell together. Did you still feel like you were an outsider?
No, I was an outsider the first half of the year.
Okay.
But eventually these two girls really clicked on me, and they really liked me, and they were really smart girls too. And they, when I joked with them about who I was with said that I have to experience the Rus experience, so they invited me on their Rus bus, and they invited me out to these different gatherings that they had, but there was a lot of things in the Rus in the high school thing that they do in their senior year, which is not like our senior year. I don't know what your senior year was like in high school, but we went to Cancun and got drunk or whatever and came back home for 1 week. But Norwegian kids in high school, they go from 1st of April to the 17th of May. They get hammered. They go have parties. They connect together, but they have these weird things where they have this hat that has a bunch of strings in it.
That's right, and they have to get the knots.
They have to get the knots.
Tell us about that.
Let me tell you about the knots. So the knots, you earn a knot in your hat. So you have this ridiculous looking hat on. It looks like a sailor, like a Popeye hat or whatever. It's some ridiculous hat, and each one has a bunch of strings on it, and then you earn a knot on your hat. Somebody ties a knot whenever you achieve some goal, some when you win a game or whatever, And these games are like, for one example, I had to crawl on my hands and knees in a grocery store and bark like a dog the whole time I was shopping. And so somebody filmed that, and then I got a
they got it on film.
This is the age of people with the video on their phone. I also had to drink an entire beer with 2 tampons in my mouth. No, thank fuck they weren't used. But
that was my next question. To get down on the level of details, yeah.
I can't tell you how hard that is, because the tampons will soak up that beer, and then now you're squeezing. Yeah, it was more difficult than I thought it was. Yeah. So, but
and isn't the whole thing with getting the knots, the tasks are progressively difficult or progressively gross or embarrassing? Each one is worse.
Each one is worse
than the previous.
Yeah, I think there's one where you have to get arrested.
I remember Snoop telling me about you had to kiss a police officer.
Yes, I did that one too. I did. I kissed a police officer. I crawled into a grocery store on my hands and knees like a dog. I drank a beer with 2 tampons in my mouth, and the last one I did was you have to eat an entire hamburger in one bite. That was hard. As you tell me all of this stuff, I am comparing it not with my high school years, but with my college years. Right.
And there we go with the difference, because again, after Norwegian high school, then you go to this university or college, and you just don't have that kind of stuff.
There's no fun
it's all
there.
business. You're just there to go to class, and then you leave.
That's it. And it's so sad. And I don't have any pride in the college that I go to. No. People ask me, what's your alma mater? I'm like, this school, and I don't have like a go Tigers or go Panthers or anything like that. So the feeling of school, there's no connection.
Right.
To your classmates. There's no connection to your school. There's no pride in where you went.
So is that a benefit, or is that something you miss? In other words, the benefit could be that you can just focus on your schoolwork.
That's true. That's a benefit, that I can just focus on my schoolwork, and I can just, get shit done. But at the same time, when I'm done with college, who's going to lift me up? Is there any brotherhood?
Where's that network?
Because we're all studying the same fucking thing right now. Like right now, I have a class and I'm studying IT. And so every other student with me is studying IT. And usually in the States, when we were studying something and somebody got a great job, then they'll be like, this company is hiring. Come work with me, brother. The network.
That sorority or fraternity network.
We're missing.
Helped open the pathway to a job and a life and a future.
Which is heartbreaking that I don't have that. And especially now as an immigrant here in this country, I was kind of hoping for that. I was hoping for the connection, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, where, we're working on the same goal here. We're trying to do the same job. You get a job somewhere. Will you help me? That's a no-go. That's not a thing.
What would it take to start some kind, I don't know if you could call it a fraternity or sorority, but what do you think about doing something to start a similar organization?
I actually tried. Tell me about that. I tried to start, because I love water polo. Believe it or not.
That's different.
And with my short ass, believe it or not, I'm pretty good at water polo.
She's a tiny little thing.
I'm a tiny little thing. I'm 5'1", but I love water polo. And so I did my first year of engineering school. When I went there, I started a water polo group, and a whopping 3 people showed up. So 3 whole people. That's not even a team, man.
That's not even a team.
So it was kind of heartbreaking, because there is no connection to the school. There's no connection to want to be a part of anything.
And I think it's that way because the Norwegian college students don't have an interest for it. So then the question would be, if you're going to start something like that, how can you awaken their interest, or how can you create an interest? I don't see how it can be done. It's so foreign for them.
It's a foreign concept to them.
It's a totally foreign concept.
It is, because there is no, we go to school, we go to class, some of us, most of us, especially this year with the Rona spreading everywhere, most of us are not even going to class. So we don't have any connection to each other whatsoever, unless we're in the study group together and we only talk about the project.
Well, Well, here's the thing. With that law class I'm taking, like I said, it's in the University of Akron, which is, I was actually born in Akron, but I was raised way out in the country. But because it's at that school, I've reconnected with a handful of high school classmates, and we are already working. In fact, one of them, I don't want to say his name because it's not in the box yet or in the bag yet, but I'm probably going to have him as a podcast guest within the next week.
That's going to be rad.
So it's getting back in touch with that old.
So we're going to hear about
gang.
what John was like in high school.
But you know what? I can tell you, because that's a real short conversation. I was not in the loop.
You weren't?
No, I was a star football player. I kicked ass. I was one of the best to ever come through that school. Thank you to Coach Jeff Data, who told me that I was the best. He told me that in a phone conversation, so I thank him for that. But I had that, but socially,
yeah.
And
no,
you know why?
No shit.
You know why I think that was?
Why?
Now, for those who she sees I'm rubbing the skin on my arm, I'll say it. It's because I was the black kid. And
wait. You said the word I was the black kid. Were you the only black kid in the whole school?
We were two.
Shut the front door. What's a football team without black dudes?
No, that's
I'm just joking.
Yeah, but you know what?
Just joking.
No, Bill Burr has a great joke.
I know.
Have you heard
I was
that?
thinking about that.
No, it's fun. I love it. I joke about that kind of stuff all the time in my stand-up routine. But I was, I can remember throughout my from the very first day I went to that school system in third grade. That's when we moved from Akron to my town, Norton, Ohio. From the very first day, and then repeatedly, in varying frequencies, but repeatedly all through my years, all the way up until 12th grade, until after 12th grade, I got that reminder that you're the black kid.
You're the black kid.
This is your place. This is not your place.
Did you grow up in a predominantly white neighborhood?
Oh, they were very white. That's it. We were yes.
You were in Crackertown. Oh, Lord, honey. You was in Crackertown. I'm sorry, Connecticut.
And I'll say this just to give it a little bit of nuance and a little bit of the dynamic.
Right.
It's not like they were burning crosses all over the town, but they threw the N-word at me.
No shit.
Sure they did. At least up until I got big enough to whoop. Whoop
this was
that
like
ass.
in the 90s, or what were we talking about?
I graduated in '87.
Oh, you're old.
I'm 51. I'm 51. Look at
I
this.
keep forgetting.
Beautiful skin.
It's that lotion. It's that lotion. It's that lotion.
I still laugh about that. You are and I kid you not, Tiff is the first white person to ever ask me, hey, you got any lotion I can use?
I'm ashy. Listen,
she's ashy.
hashtag white people get ashy too. We get ashy as fuck. I do.
I'll never forget that. First time you came here, and one of the first words out of your mouth, hey, you got any lotion I can use? I'm like, I know I like this woman. No, so it wasn't, there were no cross burnings and things like that, but there was a certain amount of overt, indisputable racism. Absolutely.
That's awful, man. I gotta be honest, man. I want to empathize, but I think in order to empathize, you have to have a certain level of knowledge of what that feels like. And I don't really, the closest I get, me as a white person, is here in Norway with the xenophobia.
Yes.
That's the closest I get, where they're like, fucking speak Norwegian, you immigrant or whatever. Yeah. But you know what? Or not getting hired because I have a weird last name or something like that.
Right.
But I cannot imagine what it's like to be also a black man in this country. So then there's that exponential
racism, that overt racism, but also that the little hint of racism that I experienced consistently up through the years put such it's like a governor on an engine. It just put the brakes on my enjoyment. It put the brakes on my social development as a preteen and a teen.
So do you find it to be like a downfall that you grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood? Would it have been better if you grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood or Latino?
That's a good question. But my answer is I had the upbringing I had, and here I am.
Yeah.
Looking at our old neighborhood, I thank the good Lord that my parents got us out of there when they did.
Right.
So, and I found my way. I was able to navigate through that bigotry and that racism. I found my way through it, but there was a lot of bumps along the way. There were many ugly situations, many uncomfortable situations, and it did something to my self-esteem.
What did it do?
It gave me a feeling. Here I am. I'm on the psychiatrist couch right now, but it gave me a feeling of never belonging and never being good enough.
Yeah. Oh man.
But there's a positive side to that. That frustration, that feeling of not belonging, that feeling of never measuring up,
right.
It totally fueled my athletic career, if you will.
Yeah.
I played football and baseball, and I wrestled, and I played basketball. I ran track, and I did it with savage focus.
You're fucking Michael Jordan, you are.
I did it with savage focus because
important.
I needed to. I already knew I had a talent, especially for football. So it forced me that all that negative stuff outside of football forced me to try and make up for it by excelling in football.
So
I had coaches in baseball. See, now I'm getting fired up.
Get fired up.
And I think about this stuff all the time. I've mentioned it a couple times on my podcast that I wish some of these adults, whether they were coaches or teachers, and I'm social media friends with a handful of my teachers, and you guys know who you are, and I love you, and you guys were a positive influence on me. But there were other coaches and teachers who had to have seen this bullshit, and they said nothing. They did nothing. They gave me no guidance. They gave me no comfort. They didn't correct those racist little bigoted kids who are, well, I think some kids, when you're at a certain age, it's impossible for you to be a racist, but you're being taught how to act like a racist.
Racism
you're getting it from
is taught.
somewhere.
Racism is taught, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that some of these adults did. I had a baseball player calling me the N-word repeatedly during an entire baseball practice one afternoon. His father was one of the coaches, and he said nothing.
You gotta be kidding me.
Nothing. I'll never forget that.
How the fuck?
I can remember the very first day of school. My sister, when I had her on, episode 4 or 5 or something like that, I had my sister Meredith on, and we talked about this. Our very first day of school in 3rd grade, when we moved there, the bus pulls up, and as the doors open, we hear these kids chanting on the bus. We didn't really make out what it was, and I can remember walking up the stairs onto the bus, getting in, and I can hear them very clearly, and those kids were saying, ooh, send them back to Africa, ooh, that's what those kids were saying on that bus. We being, I was 7 or 8 years old. My sister was 6 or 7 years old, a year younger than me. We didn't get, we had never experienced racism before, so we didn't get it. We just thought it was cool that all these kids were together and chanting this. We started chanting it with them, having no idea. I'll never forget it, having no idea that those kids were putting that on us. We're chanting that because we were there. I'll never forget that.
Your listeners can't see my face right now, but my jaw fell down to the floor.
And my sister and I, we talk about that all the time. How sad is that? First of all, that kids at that age on a bus would do it. Here's a few things. That kids that age on a bus would do something like that. Where did they get the knowledge? Where did they get that?
From their parents.
Exactly.
And let me tell you about that, because I grew up with a racist father.
Yeah, hold on.
I got that too.
Yeah, let's get. But so on just from that one experience, and this kind of encompasses my thoughts on that entire school. Those school years and how I experienced racism. So first of all, these kids are doing this. Where did they get it from? They got it from their parents.
Obviously.
And every kid on the bus was chanting this. Second of all, that my sister and I were so innocent that we didn't even know, we joined in on it.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker, the third thing. The bus driver did nothing. Absolutely nothing. That right there was typical of my school experience
in Ohio.
When it comes to experiencing racism. That was typical.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's terrifying to think.
That was it.
I mean, I know that racism is taught because I remember when I was a little girl, my dad is I'll say it right out. My dad is a flat out racist. And I didn't know any better when I was a little girl. So my dad would tell, black people jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I didn't, he would also tell Polish jokes, and I didn't know what that was either. And I would ask my dad, what's the N word and what's a Polak or whatever, what he would call them or whatever. And I didn't get it. He goes, they're just stupid people. And so I said, okay, and I just assumed that was the terminology.
What do you know? You're a child. And
I was like 5-6 years old. Yeah. And so I just assumed that the N word stood for stupid people. Right. So I remember going to a grocery store with my mom one time, and this one white dude was being a jerk and being stupid in the grocery store and knocking things over. And I said, oh, what a N-word. Because I assumed that the N-word meant stupid people or ignorant people.
And how old were you then?
Like 5 or 6. I mean, come on. So I dropped the N-word when I was a kid.
And again, what do you know? I mean,
it was taught to me, the N-word or Polish, Polak, or whatever the fuck. I can't remember the word he used. But so I was raised by a racist dude. And it took me until I was in high school to really fully understand the gravity of what I had been taught.
But see, that's the thing. I can never excuse an adult racist.
Right.
When people say, yeah, but that's how they were raised. That's all they know. Bull. That may be the way they were raised, but that is not all they know. I don't think there's a single racist walking around the streets of America who doesn't know that their ideology is a bunch of BS. They know. They just refuse.
I would hope so.
They refuse to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know it. They're not stupid. They know it's a bunch of BS.
Yeah. I come from a long line of racists. I will tell you that. I'll be honest with you. I come from a long line of racists, but I remember when my grandfather started dropping some, when I was older, obviously, I was an adult then, but my grandfather started talking about some, he just rambling off with his fucking racist diatribe or whatever he's doing. And I screamed at my grandfather finally because I was old enough to have that voice in the family. You don't scream at your grandfather when you're 6, but when you're 16, you got something to say. And so I remember that Thanksgiving dinner when I screamed at my grandfather and I was like, you don't use the N-word. You don't say that kind of shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? And my auntie said to me, she goes, well, he grew up in a different time. And let me tell you something about this. And what I told her, and what I will tell all your listeners right now, is that if you see an old person being racist, the fact that they are old is not an excuse to be racist. Let's just say this. This means that they have lived through decades of civil rights fights. They have seen decades of, all these protests and stuff like that. And it just means that they haven't learned a fucking thing throughout their life. So they don't get a pass from me.
And that kind of jives with what I was saying is, you come to a certain point where you can start thinking for yourself. And then you make a conscious decision to either do what's right or to continue to do your BS.
Right.
And I think that anyone who is racist today, they're willfully choosing to ignore the wrongness of what they're doing.
Because they've lived, especially if they're older. I mean, if they're in their 50s or 60s, they lived through, the Martin Luther King speech, or they lived through, all these civil rights protests and fights. And if they have willfully decided to ignore that, then they, of course, will still be racist. But, so I don't give them a pass. Yeah. I absolutely cannot give them a pass. You lived through all this shit, and all you're telling me is you haven't learned a fucking thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, we went down this thread here, talking about I guess, the social aspects of schooling, but that was my experience.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
That's how we got into it. You asked me, you said something about my college experience.
We were talking about college. Yeah.
But what is interesting, the guy that I'm probably going to end up having on my podcast, he said, and a couple other of my old classmates said something that it's just been recently, because of what's going on, and all the focus on systemic racism in the States, it's just now that they're starting to go back and think through things about how I and the other few Black people that went through that school, what was our experience?
It's just now.
So it's just now that some of them are saying
this is decades later.
Decades later.
Dude.
They're my age or a year younger or a year older,
right.
Late 40s, early 50s, and they're saying that it's just now that they're starting to reevaluate the way they think about that.
Well, because, I guess there's absolutely no excuse. It's just the ignorance that was back then, and we know more now. Yeah. And, people of color have had more voice to express their experience. Yeah. Because when you're raised with a racist parent like I was, obviously I never talked to a Black person at least in my younger years. So before I was like 6 or 7, before I went to school.
Well, that's the thing. You didn't have any experience to say anything against what you were being taught.
No,
yeah,
I didn't have it. And so I didn't have any other side to it. It's just, well, when your daddy tells you something, and that's the fucking truth. Yeah. So I was scared of Black people my first couple of years, but I remember, and I will always remember this young boy. When I was in 1st or 2nd grade, his name was William, and he was a Black boy, and he was the Black boy in my class, because I went to pretty much a fucking cracker-ass school. Yeah. So I went to a white school, and I remember William was in my class, and he sat next to me, and he asked me to borrow my brown crayon because he wanted to, we were coloring faces. And all he had was the peach or the white or whatever. And he asked me if he can borrow my brown crayon. And I said, why? And he goes, well, because I wanted to make it look like me. And for some reason, that moment, it clicked on me that we weren't given any brown crayons in that classroom. We had peach, we had white, we had even some yellows and oranges and stuff. Yeah. But we didn't have any brown crayons.
And the thing is a lot of people will try and trivialize that. But when you put that up on top of every other negative experience that Black people are going to experience, especially at that age, because of the color of their skin, right, that means something. That they don't have a brown crayon.
They don't have a fucking brown crayon. And I remember thinking, like, why don't we have a fucking brown crayon? Yeah. It was the most ridiculous thing in my head, because I'm like, obviously, if you look around my classroom, most of us are white. We had like one Hispanic person and one Black kid, William, and there was no brown crayons. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. And I remember that was the day that it kind of clicked to me that it was.
It's accumulation of experiences like that. And it happens time after time, different things, but small things, but different things, and a lot of them. It will do something to that Black or brown child.
It's got to. But I can't imagine it because I'm white. You know what I mean? I can sympathize.
But see, the problem is that white people, too many white people will just totally throw that statement out the window. Right. Oh, come on, John. That's not such a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It is.
It was a big deal to my 6-year-old self, or 6 or 7. It was a big deal that he leaned over and said, can I have a crayon that I can color my own skin color? And I was like, why don't you have one?
If that was the only experience that kid had, then okay, he'll get over that.
Right.
But when it's that little experience, and then another one, and then the girl who says she'd love to date him, but she can't because her father.
Let's go there too.
Boy.
Let's go there. I remember being so in love with this Black boy in high school. I was so in love. But
William? Was it?
No, it wasn't William. No. The William was like when I was 7,
Right, okay.
But
so
now I'm in high school in Florida, and I was so in love with this Black boy. I was. He was.
Do you have a Jerry curl? What year was this?
This was. I'm younger than you, John. We didn't do the Jerry curl. There's no plastic on our sofa.
Right.
But no, he didn't have a Jerry curl, but he did have a flat top. Remember Kid and Play?
Yes, I do.
Word.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Yeah, that nice. He had it all straight and tight. You know what I mean? But
So you like that? Okay.
I was so in love with him. I was so in love with him. But I remember that I wanted to go ask him out on a date, and all the girls knew I wanted to ask him out on a date. So they, of course, told him. She thinks she's so cute and whatever. And then he came up and asked me out on a date, and I had to tell him no because my dad would kill me if I brought a black boy home.
And that sense of otherness, that is a huge fist in the face to a teenage boy.
Yeah.
To hear something like that.
I can't even imagine.
Well, I heard it.
I'm sure
A
you
lot.
did.
A
I'm
lot.
sure you did a lot. That's how it was back then, and it probably still is. It's absolutely ridiculous and heartbreaking because, well, you know, me and him could have been great together. You know what I mean? He was.
Sure.
We had the same interests. He was a nerd like I was. We loved us some Star Trek.
He had plenty of lotion you could
Plenty of lotion, man. He had that great lotion. He had that good lotion. You know what I mean? And not only that, but his mama made that good food.
Of course.
That soul food. And I love soul food. Because, you know, I do have black folk in my family. So
Yes, you do.
I
You have
am
an uncle, right?
Oh, I have an uncle, yes. And I know all about the pork chops and
that stuff.
and the collard greens and all that stuff. His mama made the good food. But, I wasn't allowed to. Well, it wasn't that I wasn't allowed to. It's just that my father taught me so much racism that I knew that if I asked him, can I go on a date with this boy?
You knew it would
I already knew it was going to be bad. So I just already shunned him. Not shunned him, but kind of dropped him immediately because I knew my dad wouldn't accept it. And that's
And what
so
girl
tragic.
wants to go? Yeah, and what girl wants to go through that?
Well,
What girl wants to clash with their father at that age?
At that age, yeah, because what they say is that the parent of the opposite sex of you is going to be the most influential person in your love life later on. So like you, John, your mom, however you and your mom got along, it would tell you what kind of woman you're probably going to date in the future or whatever.
Right.
And so my dad was my opposite sex, obviously, and he was so racist that I was so afraid to.
Oh, that's just terrible.
It was terrible because then you're skipping me out on a huge population of great dudes. You know what I mean?
But the beauty of that is that you got to the point where you thought for yourself.
I did. I got lucky. I don't know, lucky or whatever, but I got wise, I guess you can say. It's just that whenever I finally broke myself free of the family, I left when I was 16. You know, I left the house and I went to the military.
It's a personality trait. You have that sense of adventure, that sense of individuality that was strong enough to where you could break away from your
but not only that, but I always knew it was wrong, John. I always knew, even as a young girl. Like I said, you know, seeing William in my, you know, when I was 7 or whatever, and I loved, you know, William in a brotherly way. And after that, I kept all my black friends secret.
Yeah.
I did. I kept all my black friends. I kept all my black friends secret, but I did have black friends, and you know, it's. I thought for myself even from a young age, but I was too afraid to speak out to my parents because how does a young kid do that?
Yeah, exactly. How does a girl, especially a girl who has a father who is like that, how does she go against his wishes?
You can't.
How does she argue for what she wants and what she thinks is right?
Yeah.
That's a difficult situation for a teenage girl to be in.
It was a very difficult situation, but now as an adult, I look back and I am ashamed that I didn't speak up in the times that I probably should have or whatever. But then I also understand that my youth and my, you know, I was so young. What am I supposed to say to my parents and how am I supposed to fight them? They're feeding me, you know, whatever. And so I do take that into regards, but there's a lot of regret in my youth that I didn't speak up more than I probably should have, especially in these times now that racism is really in the forefront of our government.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
you know, it's so easy to go back and regret that you didn't stand up and you didn't say this or that or the other, that you did do this, that, but you know, you're in the life that you're in now.
I am,
and you just got to start, you know, dealing with what's in front of you now.
Right.
I used to beat myself up all the time and think, why didn't I go to? Okay, the teachers didn't get involved when I felt they should have. So why didn't I just speak up and tell them?
Right. Oh, see, now you're beating yourself up.
Exactly. Yeah. And I can't do that. I got to stop that because, you know, when it's all said and done, I think I'm a good guy. I think I'm a decent person.
You're a good man, yeah.
And I think I'm living a good life.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't hold on. Yeah. Do I have anger about those days? I used to. I used to be very angry. I was a very angry, even though it didn't manifest itself,
right.
except for in athletics. But I was a very angry preteen and teen. I was.
I can imagine.
But I got over that.
Right.
I'm over the anger. But what I'm working on now is getting over the frustration. It's almost like I've removed myself from the situation and I'm seeing it as another kid, another teenager who has experienced that, and I feel sorry for that kid.
Oh yeah. You're looking outside yourself.
Exactly, and I need to stop that because I don't know how to analyze it completely, but I feel that way of dealing with it is holding me back in some way.
Yeah, it could be, but it could be your way of processing it. I mean, I know that, I've been through some trauma in my life, and in the trauma that I've been through, sometimes when I'm sleeping, I see that trauma happening again or whatever, but then I'm a third person. I'm a third party. I can see it physically from the outside, and that could be a great way to work through it, to be honest with you, is if you're not mentally in the situation and you can see yourself outside the situation, seeing it from the outside, you might get a different perspective of what had happened, and maybe
that's my brain is just trying to do the best, deal with it in the best way possible.
You're just working through it, man. You're working through it, and that's trauma for you. That's a key point in trauma, is that you revisit that situation. It's kind of PTSD, man. I got to be honest with you, because I have PTSD. Yeah. And I know that every once in a while when I'm sleeping, or sometimes when I'm just sitting on the couch, I have these flashes of memories of what had happened. And then sometimes I have these flash of memories of what I should have done when that happened. Yeah. And I didn't do that. So then you feel the guilt and the trauma all over again.
That's definitely what I'm going through. Not,
that's PTSD, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's real.
And it brings forth a very physical reaction. I can get the cold sweats. I can get the higher heart rate. I can get the adrenaline rush. Mm-hmm. I can get the feeling of fear.
Uh-huh. It's a fight or flight situation that you feel in a status of calm, which you can be sitting there at dinner and all of a sudden you get the heartbeat going and the sweats going, and then all of a sudden there's a fight or flight, even though there's no reason to run. There's no danger right there in the middle of where you're at. You'll get that feeling, and PTSD is no shit, which makes me even more pissed off. Not to get political, but you know how I do. Trump was calling military people losers and suckers this week. Yep. Did you hear any of that?
Yes, I did. I'm very much involved. I've looked very much at that case.
Yeah.
Quite deeply. I've done a lot of research, and I am right now, as we speak, debating whether or not I should have an overtly political solo Saturday episode and tackle that whole thing.
You might
have
disgusting. To. It is so disgusting, John, and it is so fucking offensive.
Yes.
It is so unbelievably offensive that he calls people who join the military, they're suckers. And then the ones who die, they're the losers. Yep. And fuck him with his 5 deferments, with his bone spurs. Because of his 5 deferments, he sent 5 other men in his place to Vietnam. And I don't know who died. I don't know.
I guarantee at least one of them did.
At least one of them did. Yep. Because of his little bone spurs. And he wants to call us losers and suckers. And that, for me, pisses me off to no fucking end, John.
It makes my blood boil. I joined the U.S. Marines in the uptick to the first Gulf War. I joined ready to go and fight.
Right.
Am I a sucker?
Apparently. But thank fuck you're not a loser, right? Because you came home.
At least I survived.
At least you didn't come home in a body bag or draped in a flag.
No, I think it's pathetic and just as disgusting as his words are. Because first of all, I believe he said it. It's not just some ultra left-wing pundit who is making this claim. Several news sources,
even Fox News,
have confirmed this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe that the man said those things. So it's not only that he said that, but it's that his followers think that that's okay at the same time as they claim a monopoly on patriotism.
Right. They claim the monopoly on patriotism, and they love their troops. They're the ones with the stickers all over their goddamn Ford F-150s. They say support the troops. But if you support the troops, then you will support them not dying, you will honor them, not call them suckers and losers. This is the most disgusting fucking thing, because, you know, people like us, we signed on, and we knew what we were signing on for. Yeah. We did it because we loved our country, and we wanted to do something to support our country, and then to call us suckers and losers, especially the ones who died out there. Yeah. I mean, you know people who died. Yeah. I know people who died for sure.
And it's disgusting that they give him a pass on this.
They do.
But I hope, you know, it's still early. It's only been a few days that this information has come out. I hope and pray that some of these sources on that story will come forward with their name.
I hope so,
forward and say, yes, this unnamed source is me. Yeah. By the way, since when is the media not allowed to use unnamed sources in their reporting?
The media's always done that.
It's been done so many times before, but again, this maniac in the White House comes out with this idea that there's something unethical about unnamed sources, and people just believe it.
That's not true.
He says it often enough, and then people start believing
That's it. That's the problem with his certain brand of narcissism. I know.
Well, he's got that straight out of Mein Kampf.
He's got it, yeah.
Hitler wrote, not to give him a shout out, but Hitler did. But he did write.
Sorry, I was drinking my tea.
He did write.
Shout out to Hitler. Woo-hoo! All right.
But he did write in Mein Kampf, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact way he phrased it, but he said that if you want to control the masses, you tell them your lie, you say it loud enough, you say it often enough, and then they will accept it as the truth.
This is true.
That is exactly what this man is doing.
Well, not in comparison to that. Also, Hitler also had the he did the same tactic of talking about how the media were liars. Mm. You know, he said that it was all fake news with him too. If anybody checked him up on it, this is like the typical narcissistic game. You know, it's you don't believe your eyes and ears, only believe what I say.
He said that literally.
Yeah,
word for word. He did say that.
Did he?
Yes, absolutely. Way back in the beginning of his presidency, he said something to that effect. You don't believe what you see on the news. Don't believe it. It's not the truth.
It's not the truth. Oh, good Lord. I mean, these people have degrees. It is some fucking creepy shit. This whole world that we're living in. Oh, my God. It's terrifying. It is.
You got me worked up on this.
I do. I got you worked up.
And do I need to? Should I apologize that we came away from the original topic? Or
no, you know why? I think we went somewhere great. I think we went somewhere important, because I was just talking about how, I was just going to talk about how my friend Stefan, shout out my friend Stefan from Chi-Fi House, you know, about the college experience of. Here in Norway, there's no fraternity, there's no parties, there's no fun, there's no connection or whatever. And then I remember back in, you know, the Chi-Fi House, back in FIT or whatever, that, you know, my friend Stefan, he used to work at this fireworks place. Yeah, I think it's called Phantom Fireworks or something. You know, one of those big chain stores where they sell fireworks.
Warehouse.
And he worked there. And then one time, they were closing down the shop, and so he brought home $10,000, not kroner, $10,000. That's 100,000 kroner worth of fireworks to the Chi-Fi House. And then we just pour gasoline on it and set that shit on fire. And then, you know, that's a great time. We don't have...
That's nuts.
So I think we went on to more important topics, John.
Well, right away.
Yeah, besides, you know, doing keg stands and shit like that, you know, I think we went somewhere great.
Well, there's something... I get a sense of freedom. I get a sense of relief when I talk, now that I spoke about... and we talk about this, or we've begun to talk about this off the air, you know, working on my book that I'm going to have to dig up. Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm so excited.
That I'm going to have to dig up, you know, some memories and some feelings and stuff.
Because I don't know if your listeners are quite aware, but you asked me to be your ghostwriter on this book, and I am so excited, really excited. But I'm going to ask you some hard questions, John.
Sure, and I want you to,
yeah.
You can use this stuff that I spoke. You know, that's material for the book.
This is open stuff, but I'm going to ask you some hard shit. You know, some hard shit that because when I write something, when I write a book, when I do an interview, when I write any kind of article, you know, I'm not exactly Jim Acosta or anything, but I do go into the Baba Wata.
No, but that's exactly what I want.
Yeah,
and that's been what has held me up. I've been starting and stopping this book project, for years.
For too long.
But I for me to actually sit down and write it's been too emotional. But when I sit and I talk to you, for those who are listening, basically what I'll do is I'll talk to Tiffany, or I'll go on the microphone and I'll record myself telling my story. I'll send that off to Tiff. So that seems to be easier.
I think so, because
maybe because it's it's a time issue. When I'm speaking, I'm just getting it out. Whereas if I sit and write, I have to actually think about it.
Right.
And that's been too much.
And you have to stop about, you know, are my paragraphs great? Did I put punctuation here or whatever?
Right.
But it's better if you just tell me your stories. And
that's one of them.
Yeah.
My that's part of it, actually. You know, is my experience through my entire school years.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think those years also put a big, big damper on my college experience.
What, the high school years?
Sure.
Yeah.
Remember, that was years of me feeling like I didn't belong, that I wasn't good enough.
Right.
It made me feel isolated socially, and I took all that with me to college.
Oh, man.
I took it all with me. I did not enjoy my time there like I should have.
But, you know, was it, because I want to hope. I want to hope. You know, I'm just a white girl, so I don't know. But I want to hope. I want to hope that when you go into college, people are a little more enlightened. And people are maybe a little less under the thumb of their parents, their racist parents or whatever. And then maybe at some point, I'm not saying as a freshman, but maybe by the time they become seniors in college, that maybe they've met enough black people or colored people in some way that they can get to know them and have a connection. Like, I don't know, because like I said, I grew up with a black uncle. So I don't, even though I had a racist dad, and obviously my uncle and my dad did not hang out, but my racist uncle, or my racist dad, and my uncle was, my black uncle was like my favorite uncle. And so he taught me from a young age, a little bit about the culture. I mean, like, he taught me about collard greens. He taught me about how to make the good food and how to dance, even though I'm a little white girl, but I still try to dance.
And then just being around him, I'm sure you just, you by osmosis, you just kind of brought in a lot of knowledge just by being around him.
Yeah, because he also brought me around his family, you know what I mean? And so I was invited, quote unquote, to the barbecue.
Literally.
I was literally invited to the barbecue. And let me tell you something about the fucking barbecue. White people, if you if you have not been invited to the barbecue, get yourself invited to the barbecue, because there's the electric slide, the whole goddamn family, like 4 or 5 generations out in the yard dancing together and having good food and stuff. Like, I couldn't imagine why there is hatred there, because what a fucking great time I had, and great people. And so
people stop talking about politics, if people put their racism aside and just sit down and talk with the other side, you will see.
You will
see that there is no difference.
Well, besides the food is amazing.
White folks need to work on that. But,
it might sound racist, but black people make good food, and they make good food.
But those school years for anybody, not just for me, but I think the school years for anybody are quite important. That is when you are getting your feet wet socially. That's when you're learning your limits, what you can and can't do socially, where you fit in. It's a process of maturity, I think.
It is.
And if something gets in the way of that, you're going to carry that with you for the rest of your life.
But the good news is that while children are in school, they're not under the thumb of their parents at that moment. So it's possible that they can branch out. There's a potential that they can, blend themselves in with a group of people that are different culture and stuff. And that was also another saving grace, besides having the black uncle or whatever, the black family. Yeah. But at school, that boy William, and when I was 7, I remember him very well. And and then growing up through school, just getting to blend together with different people of different colors and races and stuff, going to a Jewish bat mitzvah, going here, you know what I mean? And doing all the different cultural things. That's very, very important. But yeah, your parents have a big say in who you might become when you're young. But I hope that school and college will help people to branch out a little bit more. With loving.
I wonder how many white girls who all through high school, they might have had a crush on a black guy, but they never did anything
that was me?
because of their father, but then they go to college.
Yeah.
The sports team, with all of a sudden a whole lot of black guys.
Yeah, and a whole lot of cute ones.
Daddy's not there anymore.
And now they're all like built because they're in the, like early 20s or whatever.
That's right.
They got their muscles now.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? They're looking all fine.
I was a running back in high school and college, and I think I was 11 years old when I started lifting weights.
11 when you?
Yeah.
Shut
Absolutely.
the front door. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
11 years
Is it even
old.
healthy to start
Sure,
lifting weights when you're 11?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So by the time I was like a junior in high school, I was thick and muscular and lean.
You was thick with a double C.
And then I go to college, and then you start lifting weights with even more structure in college and stuff. And yeah,
You was thick with a double C, baby. Get that booty out there.
No, but it's I don't know. I think they're missing something. Well, I don't know. Here in Norway, they're not missing it because they don't know about it. But I just wonder how that would change the very dynamic of Norwegian society.
That was also another interesting thing that I was thinking about in college here, I'm in college here. I mean, I'm literally in school with like probably 90% blonde hair, blue-eyed, Aryan looking motherfuckers, Mm-hmm. And so there's very little diversity at school. There are some of us foreigners that are there, but there's very little.
We get that diversity in American colleges.
We get it, yeah.
Immediately.
But that's the whole thing that confuses me, that we have the diversity in American college, but there's a lot more racism in American colleges. You would think that all that diversity would...
I want to challenge you.
Challenge me, baby. I'm all about that. Mm-hmm.
I have experienced... I was about to say I've experienced more racism here in Norway than I ever did back home. I have to think about that. But
is it racism or xenophobia? That's the question, because I experience xenophobia.
Let me melt those two things together.
Yeah.
And I will slightly rephrase it, and I'll say that the racism that I've experienced here in Norway is definitely more consequential.
Really?
And the very fact that Snoopy and I were kept on 3 different occasions from buying the home that we wanted.
Get the fuck out of here.
3 times, yeah.
3 times.
Yeah. And people say, oh, come on, John, how do you know that? Well, we know this because, I speak fluent Norwegian.
Very.
But I always speak only English with Snoopy. So we would be at these showings speaking English, and then the real estate agent or the homeowner, I guess they just assume that we cannot speak Norwegian. I'm a black guy, and we're speaking English, and
Obviously.
Snoopy is speaking, the way she speaks English, it doesn't sound like a Norwegian speaking English. So they assume that she's probably a foreigner, maybe whatever,
Yeah.
So they say things,
thinking
that we don't understand what they're saying.
I love that one.
And we had one time a lady said that this is out at a farm way up in Veered, the next county over, saying that whatever you do not sell this house to that so-and-so. Don't do that. I don't want to ruin the neighborhood, she said.
Oh, Lord.
And you can't get around that. That's racist. I mean, that's
pure racism.
There's nothing that's left to interpretation.
No. Holy shit.
There was another one where it'll take a long time to tell the whole story, but let it suffice to say that the real estate agent blocked us from getting a home. And we know this because in the end, the home got sold to a friend of mine not like a close friend, but I know this guy.
Right.
And he ended up getting that house, and then comparing what he said about what the real estate agent told him, it's quite obvious. Again, nothing left to interpretation that he blocked us from getting that home.
That's cold-blooded.
And we put it together. Yeah, so that's some consequential stuff. They're messing with where we are able to live and start our life. This is years ago when we were first getting started.
Right.
And that changes the stream, the flow of the course of your life. That's some consequential stuff right there.
It is, because that's a big thing, buying a house.
Nothing like that has ever happened to me in the States. Never.
So do you think that perhaps, and this is just my guess, because like I said, I'm just a white girl. So do you think that perhaps both racism and xenophobia
played a part in that,
come together and make this like perfect storm of hatred and fear of the people? Because you not only are you black, but you're also not Norwegian.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so now you have this, because I know I experienced this, the not Norwegian, fucking speak Norwegian, you fucking little short person with hair, but I'm still white. Yeah. So people don't know I'm not Norwegian until I speak, and then they fucking know, because they know I got an accent.
Exactly.
But you don't have an accent. But they do know that you're not Norwegian because you speak English to your wife, which is normal.
Yeah, it's funny because I do speak very clean, straightforward Norwegian. I can have a phone conversation that might go on for several conversations. Maybe it's something to do with a hospital or a doctor's office or some business that we're going to do some kind of work with, and I speak with them, and they have no idea that I'm not Norwegian, at least no idea that I'm black. And then I show up there, and all of a sudden, the good cooperation and again, this is something that people, they'll try to just brush this, oh, John, come on, you're too sensitive. Don't freaking tell me I'm too sensitive. When I walk into that doctor's office or that business or whatever, after having several phone conversations that have led up to that meeting. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when they see me,
it's different.
The goodwill is gone.
Everything's
the cooperation is gone. The mutual respect is gone. You can't tell me you doubting Norwegian. You can't tell me that I am not experiencing racism.
Right.
You can't tell me that.
No. And you know, it made me think about that picture. I took a picture this morning.
Yeah.
This morning. At the train station in my little town, Porsgrunn, because I was coming up here to visit you, and there was a sign that even said "Rasisme fri by."
Yes,
it's what it said. You saw that?
Yes.
It's a racist-free town, is what it says. And I remember I took a picture of it this morning because I'm like, that's bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit. It's a nice thought, but it's absolutely bullshit. There's certainly racism in our town, but I can't imagine the racism combined with the xenophobia as well, because I've only experienced the xenophobia. That's what I've experienced, and that for me, John, is enough for me to make me go fucking crazy that I don't want to go out. So I can't imagine what it's like for people who are also colored in any way of skin, not just black, but they can be Pakistani or anything. When we have a lot of Somalians, and we have a lot of Asians, even Thai people that are in my town, and I can't imagine to have that coupled up with that. And how is that a good life for you here? Is that a good life for anybody here?
I'll say this. I talked about how screwed up things were when I was going to school, and that I'm still carrying that baggage now. But all in all, I'm a well-rounded person. I feel very secure in most situations. I'm smart. I'm well-read. And I was raised to be tough.
Yeah.
So that gets me through the crap that I see here when it comes to racism and or xenophobia.
Right.
I'm able to rise above it. It'll make me angry in the moment, or it'll hurt my feelings in the moment.
Yeah.
I'll be affected by it, but I'm able to internalize that and just keep on marching.
You can just keep on marching without stopping and smacking somebody upside the fucking head, because I can't.
Because I am the kind of person, and Snoop tells me this is to a fault, but I'm the kind of person who I go out of my way to avoid conflict.
Oh, God bless your heart.
Physical or verbal
bless
conflict.
Your heart. I find it.
Out of my way, and I just stay quiet.
Really?
Yeah.
I am the exact opposite of you.
Well, the detriment is when I can't control myself, I go nuts.
Oh, so you let it build, you let it fester for a little while, and then you explode.
I'm talking like this will happen like maybe once every 2 or 3 years.
Oh, so you let it build that long,
Oh,
dude?
yes.
No, Charlie.
Oh,
You gotta
yes.
let the fucking
That's
fumes
what
out every
Snoopy
once in a while.
tells me that all the time. But I'm very conscious of my otherness. I don't want to be another front page story in VG, the big Norwegian newspaper. Yet another immigrant goes crazy and does this.
No,
I don't want to be that guy.
I'm gonna be that girl. I'm ready to go. Like,
well, see, I don't want to be that guy, and I do everything I can to avoid conflict.
bless your heart, honey. Bless your. I don't know what that's like. I have no idea what that's like, because I am the first person to speak up. I'm the first person to holler. I'm the one that holler at somebody that's not wearing a mask on the train, which I did this morning. Go fuck yourself. Get away from me, you infested fucker. So I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
But I also have the added bonus of being white.
Well, see, and there you go.
There you go.
I do believe. You want to know the latest, the most recent experience? This was back in the wintertime. It's just funny. Snoop gets me in trouble. She pushes me towards trouble all the time. Okay,
Blame
Snoop
her.
was driving. I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and we were in line at the Statoil gas station. This is before they went over to, or maybe they had gone over to Circle K by then. Anyway, we're at the gas station to wash the car.
Right.
The hand wash, not the machine wash.
Right.
And as we pulled in front of the garage door was down, there was another car in there. Excuse me. And as we pull into the garage, there's another car, not really in line, but off to the side, kind of. So Snoop kind of gestures with her hand and the raised eyebrows, are you going to go? And
Because Norwegians don't know how to queue up.
they sure don't.
They sure the fuck
So the guy
don't.
kind of just like halfway put up his hands and shook his head. No, which both Snoop and I interpreted as he's not in line.
Right.
And again, there were no other cars even close to being in line.
Right.
So we pull up, and a couple of minutes go by. The garage door goes up. Another car comes out. Snoopy pulls in. And then here comes this guy. I'd say he was maybe 55 years old, roughly. Comes storming up to the driver's side of the car. Yelling.
Your side.
No, I was in a passenger seat. Snoop was driving.
Oh, okay.
Cursing and saying, what the heck are you doing? Jumping in line. I was next. This is not the guy that we checked, with the hand signals. This was somebody else.
Completely random.
And Snoopy was kind of, she's tough. She's
tough.
even smaller than you.
Yeah. But she's more feisty than I am,
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So she's, standing, chest bumping with this guy.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, back off.
I would have held her earrings. Okay.
So of course, my my African Savannah male lion came into gear, and I come around the side of the car, stand between them, and without raising my voice, just as calm as I'm talking to you now, I say, why don't you step back and you and I can talk about this?
Right.
I say this in Norwegian. Well, he steps forward to me. Actually, was standing on my toes with his nose like half an inch away from me, and he starts cussing me out.
You're a big dude, man. I wouldn't
This is a
step
guy.
to you.
He's maybe 5 years older than me, and he's far from strong or in shape.
He's got to be drunk.
No alcohol on him. No drugs that I could tell. He was just mad. Well, then, of course, he has to turn to the racist stuff.
Immediately.
Yeah, you black son of a gun. What are you doing? Why are you jumping? And I'm like, first of all, sir, I didn't jump in line. I wasn't driving. As you know, my wife was driving. But you're not going to step up on my wife like that. And the whole time while I'm talking, through my hand gestures and movements, I'm slowly moving this guy back away from the garage.
Right. Good for you.
So Snoop was able to close the garage, and she's just washing the car. And this guy is escalating, talking louder. We're in the parking lot now.
Right.
Talking louder.
In public.
Cursing even more, saying even more racist things. And I started to get that feeling where I know that the point is coming to where I can't talk to this guy anymore.
Right.
Because he wasn't getting physical, but he was getting physically aggressive, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he was stepping up to you. He was invading your private
and
space.
I'm the kind of person who I don't really care what they teach kids in school. I don't believe in waiting until the other person hits you.
No.
It comes to a certain point in any kind of an argument.
If I can smell your breath, you're getting hit.
Well, yeah, exactly. It comes to a certain point in any confrontation where you feel physically threatened. And
right.
at that point, I do believe that you should be allowed to defend yourself.
Absolutely.
But, and all of this is going through my head. It might have taken a microsecond for this evaluation to go in my head. I'm like, I could put my hands on this guy and I can call it self-defense. It probably would be self-defense legally.
Right.
But I'm a big black foreigner.
And in the eyes of these white-ass fucking Norwegians, you would have been the aggressor.
I did something that I am very proud of. At the same time as when I go over this incident, I wish I would have just decked the guy.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of what I did. I walk into the gas station, and this guy is like right on me, right in my ear.
Dude.
And I walk into the gas station, and there's like 4 or 5 people there. They've been watching this through the window. And having them as witnesses, and then they started getting involved, telling this guy that he better back off. He is wrong.
That's good. That's good at least.
So those other people getting involved and talking to that guy, and then he ends up yelling at them, and then I was able to just pull myself out of it.
Right.
But the whole thing is that I was very conscious of being this big black foreigner.
Right.
And it, to a certain degree, sickens me when I think about that I had to have
that's the epitome.
in mind.
That's the epitome of white privilege, I think, or one of the epitome of white privilege.
Thank you. Thank you.
Me going into that situation, if that happened, obviously he wouldn't have been calling me any racist things because I'm the same race as him. But if I stepped up to him, told him to back a fuck off, kicked him in the nuts, dropped him like a sack of shit that he was, nobody would have batted an eye. Nope. But if you do that, you as a big, I mean, let's just say you got some muscles on you, man.
And even though this guy was clearly the aggressor,
obviously,
I know it could very easily have been turned around.
Yeah, you would have been the angry black man or the angry foreigner, depending on what.
And I'm not going to give them that. But it sickens me, and it's incredibly frustrating that I even have to consider
because
that.
I don't have to live my life like that. I don't want to say that I'm a contentious person or anything.
No, but you'll stand your ground.
I stand my fucking ground. Yeah, sure. And I'm not one of those people that use guns, man. I'll come and cut you. Yeah, you say stand your ground from Florida, man. The whole George Zimmerman thing freaks me out. But
I'm saying you'll fight for your side.
I will fight for my side on the argument, and I will step up to a motherfucker. And even though I'm all of 5'1", I will step to a motherfucker. I don't care, and I will tell them what I think about them. But I don't have the extra burden of thinking about the optics of it, of where I am, and oh my God, am I this
I have to
black?
Have that.
You have to have that, and so that's another side of white privilege that I don't think everybody really gets.
And here's just to round off that story. This was incredibly touching, and it made me really appreciate those people. But one guy, his girlfriend, and the guy who was working behind the cash register, all of them gave me without me asking. All of a sudden, I get a piece of paper in my hand because I had come outside. Finally, that guy left, and then I came outside just to make sure he didn't try to go into the garage where Soup was washing the car. Right. And then the guy behind the register comes out with a piece of paper with their phone numbers written on it, saying that if this guy tries to say that I instigated this or that I was aggressive, that I have them.
That happened in Norway?
Yeah. Right down the street, actually.
Strangers got involved in an altercation in Norway? Norwegians don't get involved in altercations?
But they did that. And,
really?
And it was incredibly touching, but at the same time, I wish I could just say, wow, that was very touching, very nice of them. But at the same time, it made me sad.
That it had to happen.
They had to do that.
They felt like they had to do that because...
Isn't that sad?
You're the black guy.
That's sad. And
you're the black guy, obviously.
And it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I think about that incident, and at the same time as I'm proud that I didn't explode, I kept it under control. I even put humor into it. At one point when that guy was in my face, I said, man, I know you want to hit me, but I just want to hug you. I said
did
that to
you
him.
say?
Yes. Yep. Said that to him. That was actually right after we had come inside. And the other people
I'm stealing that next time.
Oh yeah, I said, I know you want me to hit you. I know you want me to
I'm just gonna blow you a kiss.
But I want to hug you. I just want to hug you. So
That's brilliant.
So I'm proud of that, but it was
You
so
should be proud
frustrating.
because I don't want to say that I don't have that because I do have control over my emotions. I got times that, I want to pop a motherfucker off and I don't do it. But like I said, I got that privilege where I can let go a little. I can pop off that steam, pop off that top of the canister, and I can let some steam out more than you're allowed to.
And the thing is I remained calm through that whole thing, but afterwards I got the shakes, the heart started racing,
Right.
adrenaline, all that stuff, and I got so angry.
Yeah, because you didn't let it out then.
Exactly.
You swallowed that shit up. I can't
Exactly.
imagine having to swallow that shit up daily. I couldn't imagine it because
I just, but I just don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that angry black dude. I'm not going to give them that. I'm not going to give them that. I'm just not.
now the angry black dude is actually it's a very portrayed figure. I think in especially the movies.
Well,
Whenever you have
feeds-
the police chief. The police chief is always an angry black man, right? You got
look
the
at the
lethal
chief
weapon, and you got all
Beverly
this.
Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills. It's always an angry black man, so you didn't want to promote that stereotype. So I
Well,
commend
there's
you
this-
for calming yourself down because I would have fucking punched the dude in the face. I'm not going to lie.
I'm very aware of what society, whether back home or here in Norway, of what society thinks of me, black as a black man, and I'm just not going to feed their xenophobia, their racism, their preconceived notions. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Even though it frustrates me, even though I end up hating myself for
I
a while,
know.
I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to win. I'm going to win in that situation.
That
by not
takes
giving-
a level of maturity and insight and like self-honesty. You know what I mean? Like the you being honest with yourself. Reality is reality. Sadly, it is the reality. But you have that level of insight to know what reality is and to know how to maneuver in the reality that you're in. Sadly, that you
and
have to
that's
do that.
those years as a cop that taught me how to maneuver and how to de-escalate.
Right. I don't know how to do
Hello, modern police officers of today, de-escalate, learn it.
that. Learn it.
But that is it's during those years, not to say that I handled everything proper, but I did learn the value and I learned how to de-escalate through body language, through...
I gotta ask you now,
Yeah,
because John,
yeah.
because you are a massive beast of a man. So how does one like you de-escalate a situation with
Well-
you being so you're imposing? I'm going to say that you're imposing. You have these muscles out to your neck and everything like that. You're a bit imposing. How do you de-escalate a situation that when somebody's aggressive and they want to fight and everything, you look like a guy who wants to fight or looks like a guy who can fight? Excuse me.
And I can.
Yeah, no doubt.
What I do is... well, just the fact that I don't meet their challenge.
Okay.
This has worked in my civilian life, but it's also worked in my law enforcement life, both here in Norway and back in the States, is that when that aggressive person, maybe they're under the influence of drugs, maybe they're stone cold sober and they just want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't meet their aggression with aggression, being this big, muscular guy who looks like I can do whatever I
You
want
look
to
like you can
anybody
break a bitch.
physically,
Yeah.
when I don't live up to that expectation, it confuses the living daylights out of them. And that alone usually will de-escalate.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. Not only I can't say just that alone.
No,
It's not just that alone.
No,
it's
there's more to it,
it's
yeah.
your speaking voice. Everybody, all your
and I was gonna
listeners can
say,
hear
yeah.
you sound
And I was going to say
like a
as well,
smooth jazz 107.9. You sound like
if you guys go on my artist page on Facebook, if you go in on at John Allen Loyal Oak, that's at JOHNALAN LOYALOAK, or you can go on my website at johnallenpod.com. On my website, you'll see the links to my Facebook, my artist page on Facebook. Go in there and look at some of the powerlifting training videos and photos that I have up there. I'm a big guy.
You're a big dude.
I'm not tall. I'm 5'8", but I'm extremely thick and muscular.
Thick with a double C.
Not
baby.
as lean as I used to. Not as lean as I used to be, but I'm still. Yeah. So I have an imposing.
Right.
I'm an
but
imposing figure.
you
But when I
sound
don't
like
talk-
you need to be on a jazz radio station, and you have this
Ralph
very
Molina.
smooth voice.
Ralph Molina from Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
He said one of the first things he said in that episode a couple of days ago was that it blew his mind when I sent him the first voicemail message to plan that episode.
Yeah.
He was shocked.
I was too.
Were you really? Yeah.
When I first talked to you, I'm like, who the fuck am I talking to?
It's funny because Daniel Eriksson, shout out to Daniel from Alaiko.
Hi, Daniel.
He and I had a business relationship for years before we actually met. This is when I was living up north and running my gyms.
Right.
I had bought some equipment from him. And from those phone conversations, he told me recently that at first, for those first couple of years, he thought I was like this blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, kind of looked like Neil Young, maybe. So I get it. But I use that in situations of conflict. I use my voice, and I use my size by not using my size. It blows their mind. So it's the voice, it's my size, it's my body language. You know, just the very act of straightening your spine and kind of huffing yourself up, that can be so easily interpreted as aggressive.
Right.
But what I do is I'll put all my, and this is a subtle thing, but I'll put my weight on my back foot, which is actually a combat stance, but it will also lean my body back. And that moving back can be a de-escalation.
It does de-escalate, yeah. Like
hands, my open hands, palms of my hands facing them and I talk with my hands anyway.
Yes.
But in a conflict situation, hands out, it can appear very calming.
Yeah. See, like right now, like as you're performing the hands out right now, because your listeners can't hear, but you were having your hands out. Now you look like a big teddy bear. Now I want to hug you.
Exactly.
See,
I smile a lot.
You do, and you got the best smile. You got these white ass teeth.
So I smile a lot.
Right.
And I do all of those things, and when you put all that together, that is not a man who looks like he wants to fight. So it will then defuse the situation or calm the other person down.
That makes sense.
It's just something that I learned through all those years in law enforcement.
I wish I would have learned some of that myself, because I do not have that de-escalation feature in my
body language.
In my body language, no, I'm little, man. I'm little. I'm like a little chihuahua. I'm just like, and I'll bite your fucking ankles and get away from me.
Snoop has this thing where it's hard to describe. You just have to see it. But her eyes get very narrow, and that pointing finger comes out, and it's just so doggone aggressive. So you see, it can have, even though she's a small woman, she can project aggression very easily. So body language is everything.
And body language is everything. Yeah. And I guess that's something you have to learn. And I really wish that the police in the States could learn a little more about body, because body language is not just so subtle. It's really quite open.
We were taught this. We were specifically taught this. We use so much time on this at the Police Training Institute in Champaign, Illinois. That's right.
Champaign. Well, that sounds fancy. That sounds bougie.
So that's where I took at the University of Illinois. That's where I took my police academy training, and we were taught. They called it verbal judo. It was actually
verbal judo.
I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but it was actually a method that was being taught to police officers at the time. How to take that person's aggression and turn it around and send it back to them, not as aggression, but as a calming element. And they told us about tone of voice. They told us about facial expression. They told us about the words you use.
All right, so motherfuckers not no vocabulary then. Okay. Scratch that one out.
So there was none of that, sir, listen to me. There was none of that. It was like, sir, yeah, I understand that.
But you still call him sir?
Sure.
Yeah, so sir is okay then, because where I come from in the South, I'm from the dirty South. You call somebody sir, that's like well,
it's all about context. And sometimes, a lot of times in a situation, it can be maybe you know their name already. Maybe you've run their information through the system. You know use their name.
Down south, down south we're like darling. honey,
Yeah.
sugar, it's all right. You know, put the gun down.
I would
Ain't nobody want to die here today.
I would use brother a lot. Come on,
Brother.
brother, you know.
Brother, yeah, brother could work. Brother could work. I could see that because then that makes you kind of like a family. You know, like we're together.
So it's a combination, and I use it to this day. It's that combination of body language, the words, the tone of voice. Luckily, I have a soft voice.
You do.
And
You sound like butter.
See, and that alone dampens my imposing physique if I wanted to.
Yeah, because I got to be honest with you. The first time I didn't hear your voice. I saw you first on Facebook, and I thought you were going to sound like Debo from Friday.
Like
that was the first thought that I thought he's going to sound like Debo. But then all of a sudden you called me up, and you sound to me immediately. You sounded like some kind of radio station DJ. You know, smooth jazz. Like I said, you know, just talking to me in my sleep and. Yeah.
a friend of mine told me that my podcast, or my voice anyway, would fit on NPR radio.
Roger that.
And
or ASMR.
Yes. Yeah.
You should do some ASMR.
Well, ASMR should give me a shot.
Yeah, holla, holla. Because ASMR, all you got to do is speak silently.
Yeah.
Rub them on.
You know what? I think we talked about that before, and I should give it a shot, but I don't know how to start. And to be honest, it's a little embarrassing. I giggle when I think about doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I do, because it's weird.
Well, it's kind of like last week when I was talking about your paintings. I'm saying you could do
right.
You
I get giggly.
Yeah,
I did blush.
So when people talk, because my voice, I'm just talking.
It's just you, yeah.
And I don't feel or hear the effect of it. So when people tell me that kind of stuff, I get embarrassed.
I'm sure you
But
do.
okay, I think now with this podcast, enough people have told me that it's okay.
It's
okay,
butter.
I'd
it's
like
melted
to use
butter.
It. But I just don't know how I would get
But
started.
ASMR, baby,
Yes.
I can help you out. It's all you gotta do. I use ASMR when I go to bed. Believe it or
It's
not,
very relaxing.
It's very relaxing. But not only that, but I have tinnitus or whatever the fuck they call it. You know, so I have this high pitched squeaking in my ear all the time when it's silent. So I have to have some sort of noise going on in the background in order for me to sleep. Otherwise, the silence is it's deafening.
Yes.
Silence is actually deafening for me. It's so loud.
Yeah.
So I have to use ASMR, and usually I use like because I'm come from Florida and I'm so used to rainstorms and stuff. I'll use a rainstorm sound in the background or something like that. But then when you play YouTube, sometimes on I use that Chromecast situation. And you play YouTube, and the videos will just kind of roll in succession, when you fall asleep, and they just kind of. So then one time I remember waking up, and it freaked me the fuck out, John. I mean, I can see why it's good for some people, but it freaked me the fuck out. I woke up at 4:00 in the morning because I'm old and I had to go pee. And then the video that was on was this guy. He was young, probably like 19, 20 years old. And the label on the YouTube video was Boyfriend Whispers. Yeah. And so it was this guy going, I think you're so beautiful. You're the most amazing thing in my life.
Wait, let me try that.
Yeah.
I think you're so beautiful. I think you're the most.
It was 6 hours of him doing that.
Wow.
I saw the video was like
different phrases like that.
Whatever. He was just sitting there talking, and then he even like rubbed his microphone to pretend like he was rubbing your hair. And I was like, God, this is fucking creepy. John should do this shit.
John's creepy. But let me ask you this. So
he had over 1 million views.
Okay, but let me ask you this. So you have his voice, but what was the visual?
The visual was just him. It was literally the visual of it was him laying in his bed, and then you can tell he was not wearing a shirt, but it wasn't sexual or anything. You can just tell, it was. You didn't see any nipples or anything, but you can tell that he was acting like a boyfriend that was just cuddling you in bed.
So in other words, it was a voiceover. It wasn't.
It was a voiceover. It was him. He had the microphone in his face.
We had the microphone.
He had the microphone, but he was laying down on the bed with obviously no shirt on, but you didn't see any, awful things or anything. But he was sitting there, and then he would literally with his hands, he would rub the mic. like that. And he would talk about how beautiful you were and how great you are and what a great day you're going to have tomorrow.
That actually sounds kind of cool.
It was pretty cool, actually, because it's supposed to be for people to fall asleep too.
Right.
And what I understand is that you can subconsciously soak this shit in while you're sleeping. When somebody tells you you're precious, you're going to do a great job tomorrow.
How long was that video?
6 hours.
Okay, so it's 6 hours?
This dude committed himself.
Did it go on repeat? Or was
No,
it
it wasn't a loop. It was one 6-hour long video of this dude who had, Corona times. He's got plenty of time to do things or whatever. But he did have this soothing, whispering voice. Yeah. So I woke up. It kind of freaked me out because I heard somebody whispering. And so my PTSD was triggered because I thought somebody was in the room. So I did grab the baseball bat.
So let me ask you
this. But I
this.
didn't hit the TV because it was nice.
So if I were to do, should I whisper or should I just talk?
You talk softly, like put your lips right on the microphone like that. Yeah, I mean, just talk softly.
Hey, I've been laying here for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's it, nice, dude. That's it. Already, my nipples are hard. I'm ready to sleep. It's great.
Turn off the TV and come on in here.
Come on into bed, darling. I'm waiting for you. Yeah, and you just talk for a few hours. and then there was a couple of other ones that did a black screen version of it where they whispered, but it was almost like the TV was dark, so you don't have that TV light in your eyes whenever you're trying to fall asleep. Right. So they do it like that. John, you can totally do ASMR. I think you would make a killing.
You are the second person who specifically told me ASMR. The first one, actually, just a little bit before you, a couple weeks before you mentioned it, Diane Zarlingo, an old high school friend.
Right.
Hello, Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Beautiful lady, artistic, photographer. She photographs pregnant ladies and just makes it she makes them look like fairy tale angels.
I love that.
The way she photographs, very often in black and white, is beautiful. She told me that I should use my voice. She didn't specifically mention ASMR, but she said I should use my voice in some way to help people relax and feel good.
You should, because I love coming here because, like I told you, I have PTSD, I have anxiety, I have all kinds of issues of that capacity. But coming here and just listening, even when you call me, I feel better after you call me, and it's your tone of voice.
I love you for saying that. That makes me feel good. I don't want it to sound corny, but I genuinely have your welfare in mind. I want you to be as happy and as successful as possible. And if I make you feel good just by calling you up by bringing you in here, I get
I see the goosebumps on your arm.
And I don't want it to sound
adorable.
Corny. But,
you're such a big teddy bear. You're such a good person.
It's, you know what, we do have, this was supposed to be like a half hour.
I know. Sorry, I just miss hanging out with you.
I have to let you guys go because I have to get Tiffy back to the train.
Toot toot. Yeah.
So, thank you for
having me again. I love coming here and chatting with you. I could chat with you all day about all kinds of nonsensical bullshit. And not only that, but we even went way over the topics and didn't talk about what we were supposed to talk about.
We're gonna keep this series going.
Yeah.
We were only supposed to do 4 episodes, but let's just keep it going.
I think so. Let's ask your listeners if they want them with this to keep going. If you want this to keep going, I'm going to plug it. Go to johnallenpod.com. Send a comment on this video and say, if you're sick of Tiffy, I'll fuck off. I have no problem fucking off. But I do so much love coming here to the studio and hanging out with my best friend, John.
And if you, when you go on johnallenpod.com, you will see on the menu where you can click to go straight into my YouTube page. Help me boost my YouTube
page.
Page.
Needs to be boosted. I think so. Share the videos on your social media and stuff, because this is great.
I'm wiping tears away because you just said so many nice things. You made me push out a few personal stories here, and I feel so much better for it.
Isn't that great? It's cathartic talking to friends.
Absolutely.
I love talking to you, and I love that your listeners like to listen to us chat about bullshit.
I get a lot of feedback. They love hearing us together. So
I hope they get something out of it at some point.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I love your fans, and I'm going to have to go to the train.
Yeah,
so,
we got to get that done. Say goodbye, Tiffy.
Goodbye, Tiffy.
Bye, everybody. Thank you and goodbye.